Golair, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind.
Hello, Diegwich, bonjour, ni hao, konnichiwa, guten tag and privyet to you all wherever you're listening in. What started as a message to 10 clubs has now expanded to more than 50 clubs globally from all continents. The journey through Loaf 2 GAA Global continues this week as we move on to our next destination in the GAA world. So come with me on the GAA journey of a lifetime and meet clubs from Canada to Argentina, South Africa to Gibraltar, Bermuda to the North Pole, New Zealand to Kuwait, Knoxville to Qatar, and literally everywhere in between. So grab the passports, grab the bags, it's time to go. On Slice 42 I had the pleasure of chatting to local Atlanta man Mark, Westmeath man Cormac, and Cavan man and chairman Ray as we find out all about Atlanta GAA in Georgia, USA. I find it all about being fans of Atlanta United, playing days with Brumbruzna and Lavi back home before playing in the States, the 1996 Olympics and Michelle Smith, Ray playing in the 1986 New York Senior Football Final with Larry Tompkins and poor Bernard Flynn being sent off in that game, trips to Orlando, Charlotte and beyond, the competitive Southeast US Division, winning at the World Games in Waterford 2019, hurling on the I-75 in traffic with a crowd watching, and the tough choice between Keenan and Kell or Dahi and Mora. But first, as always, let's take a trip through Atlanta and find out all about the city that's too busy to hate. Bon Sultas. Welcome to Atlanta, the city too busy to hate. I arrived to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, the busiest daily airport in the world, to the sound of local men OutKast. Lead man Andre 3000 was born in the city. The city itself is the capital of the beautiful state of Georgia, and the entire region is home to around 6 million people. If you've been listening to previous episodes featuring the US clubs, you will know the importance in history of the US railroad system, and Atlanta is no different. But before the modern days, it was the Creek people who operated in the area. That was of course before the Europeans arrived on the scene and forced the Creeks off their land. By 1821, the government had removed them entirely. It was in 1836 when voting brought about the plans for the railroad to help link areas like Savannah and the Midwest. It was at the origin post of the railroad that the beginnings of the city of Atlanta began. It was called Terminus, before becoming Thrasherville, and then Marthasville, before becoming Atlanta, the female version of Atlantis. Once civil war broke out, the city became vital for movement with the growing railway system. The city would also suffer a damaging 4-month siege by the Union Army during that war. Mayor James Calhoun surrendered the city, and the Union Army ordered the destruction of many buildings. The city began to grow again, and in the 20th century, large buildings started to appear. Unfortunately, the coming years have been marred by huge racial tensions. 1906 saw the deaths of 27 people, but it was the murder of a young girl by a factory worker in 1913 that caused carnage. Leo Frank was sentenced to death, but had his conviction put down to life in prison by the governor. While in there, a mob broke in, took the Jewish man out, and hanged him in public. Things weren't helped by the Monster Fire in 1917, and then as World War II was in its early days, Oscar winner Hattie McDaniel was barred from the world premiere of the famous Gone with the Wind film.
You've been brave so long, Miss Scarlett. You just gotta go on being brave. Think about your Pa like he used to be.
I can't think about Pa. Can't think of anything but that $300.
Ain't no good thinking about that, Miss Scarlett. Ain't nobody got that much money.
And so began the era of civil rights protesting. The 1956 football game at the Sugar Bowl was a warning sign, but it would be in the 1960s when the likes of Ralph Abernathy and one Martin Luther King Jr. would play the leadership roles in the civil rights movement. King was born in Atlanta in 1929 and went on to lead events such as the Montgomery bus boycott and the Birmingham marches. King's speeches will go down to live in history forever, not least the likes of the I Have a Dream from the Washington Monument. Sadly, King's final speech eerily foretold his own demise.
Seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
The city of Atlanta would go on to progress over time and saw large population growth. An application for the Summer Olympic Games was successful, and the world got to see Atlanta in all its glory in 1996. For us Irish, it was an interesting one. The name Mr. Shell Smith comes to mind, but perhaps it's best we don't go there. The city also saw the beginning of CNN and Turner Broadcasting. Alongside that, the city also is home to the HQs of Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Delta, Chick-fil-A and UPS. The city is also the film studio home for many greats such as Ant-Man, Captain America, Avengers, and this one.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Yes, Dom Toretto and Fast and the Furious and his beloved family. On the sporting side, the area is home to the likes of the Braves on the baseball front, the Hawks on the NBA scene, Atlanta United in soccer, and the famous Atlanta Falcons on the NFL field. Some famous names from the city include the likes of actor David Cross of Arrested Development, Kenan Thompson of Kenan and Kel, director Spike Lee, musicians CeeLo Green, Gladys Knight and Kelly Rowland, and former President Jimmy Carter, whose birthday it is today as I write this piece. And one of my favourite actors of all time, Mr. Ed Helms.
What do tigers dream of when they take a little tiger snooze? Do they dream of mauling zebras or Halle Berry in her Catwoman suit?
And on the sporting side, names like Evander Holyfield and NFL stars Cam Newton and Michael Vick are among the best known of the Atlanta gang. Atlanta GA began in 1996, the same year as the Olympics were held in the city. Currently, they represent the city in GAA at both football and the small ball games at men's and women's levels. But don't let me give it all away. Let's find out more about the city among the hills and discover the world of Atlanta GAA in Georgia. The history.
Yeah, so the parents came over in '89, mom's Mayo, dad's Kilkenny, and then they moved down here in '96. And I've been in Atlanta. Basically, school was all in Atlanta, and then in summertime, I was basically in Mayo. And then I lived in Mayo for a year of my life after college, just because I wanted to experience that.
Cool.
And obsessed with Gaelic football and hurling, because that's both sides of the family. That's all we know.
And whereabouts in Mayo did you end up?
Castlebar. Everyone's in Castlebar.
Cool. Yeah, nice part of the world as well. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful part of the world. I went to the All Ireland this year.
Oh, poor you.
Yeah, it was tough. It's tough. I can say this: it's not easier being there in attendance watching it go down.
Okay.
It's a little easier watching it on TV.
Yeah. And did you come back specifically for the All Ireland or?
Yeah, the club actually got tickets, and I'm kind of the only mailman in the club. And the guys gave me the first right of refusal, and I got ducks in a row, and I got to. It was a quick trip. It was 5 days, but I did spend some time in Mayo and see everyone after 2 years of the COVID. So it was a great experience,
That's amazing. Yeah. Is there a direct flight? Is there from Ireland to Atlanta?
So it's seasonal. So right now,
Yeah.
no. Basically May to September, you can get direct flights with Delta into Dublin. But other than that, Chicago, Newark, DC, JFK, and it's pretty easy to get to those from here. They're all 90-minute flights, and then get that hour layover, and you're there in the morning.
Yeah.
Have you been to Atlanta yourself?
No, Georgia and the whole area is I've been to 20, I think about 24, 25 of the states in America.
Wow.
Over different holidays at different times over the past maybe 15, 16 years. But yeah, it's not one that I've been to, and I've chatted to quite a lot of clubs in your area, and funnily, like, none of them I've been to, which is kind of weird. But it's nice to hear so much about them, because it kind of gives you the inspiration to go and kind of visit them and find out a bit more about them. When I read up on the history of the cities, when I put out the podcast piece at the start on the history, it's always fun to read.
That.
My mates are big into. I haven't really got into it. My mates are big into NFL, so I would hear a lot about, like, the Falcons would come up quite a bit. I understand the game. I never really got into it as much as they did. I said that I would be a Broncos fan because Denver, the Mile High Stadium, was the first stadium I ever went to in America. this season they seem to be okay. The last few years I've kind of not taken much interest because they were pretty shit. But yeah, are you a Falcons fan then, or?
So I would probably say NFL wise, like yourself. I would watch the game, understand the game.
Yeah.
Into it as actively. I would say I'm more of a Giants football fan because that's where I was born, up in New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would cheer for the Falcons. I've gone to games. I enjoy it. The Atlanta team I support is Atlanta United. Team, and they actually won a championship the same year we won our national championship in 2018. So it's kind of for me that always lines up in my head, their championship with our championship. And I have season tickets to Atlanta United, and I'm not sure if you've seen the Benz, the stadium that they play in.
Yeah.
It's just immaculate, man, and it's like in our backyard. I definitely recommend a trip to the Benz, and either Falcons or Atlanta United. You can't go wrong.
Oh, cool. I'd usually be pretty good at my soccer knowledge. I'd be better in like 90s soccer, but my mate now and me would often just flick through the MLS squads to see if there's names we recognize. But who would be Atlanta's? Who would be the
Atlanta?
One
So Atlanta's kind of flipped the script for MLS. Like the way that the MLS model was you take a player aging from Europe. So Atlanta's flipped it, and what they've done is they've bought in South American talent and brought it into Atlanta, and they'll make a name for themselves in Atlanta, and then Atlanta sells them on to Europe. So the biggest one right now would be that's done that is Miguel Almiron for Newcastle.
Oh yeah.
So he was part of that 2018 season, and then our biggest name would be Joseph Martinez, and he actually played in Italy for a while, but we kind of got him in his prime. So yeah, they've kind of flipped it. So you wouldn't have like a big name, but you'd have a bunch of up-and-comer young men coming in. And it's a good model. It's worked so far.
Yeah, I'll have to find myself a way over. So I think Cormac is trying to get in here. Are you there, Cormac? Or?
Yep, we are. Ray and I are here, guys.
Oh, Grant, you can hear us okay, can you?
Yes, we can.
Oh, Grant.
Hey, guys.
Am I right in saying this is Cormac McCormack of Westmeath? Cormac McCormack.
It is, yeah, that's me, all right. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. And what for your sins? How did you end up over in Atlanta?
Work, same as that's probably 95% of people that go on the travel. We came over for 2 years and we're here 13 now.
that's a story I've heard many times already. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Ray, whereabouts are you from yourself?
I'm from Cavan.
Oh, good man. And what part of Cavan?
A club called Lavi.
Yeah, I've heard of them all right, yet. And Cormac, am I right in saying you would have played with Peter Tormey? Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
What's your impression of Peter Tormey now that he's my brother's coach?
I'm glad you prefaced with that, Jay. No, he's a good guy. I know he worked with the Westmeath under-20s there for a few seasons as well. So a great player, and I'd expect him to take it on into the coaching side as well. Yeah, we were lucky to have him.
Yeah, I stood beside it. I was in the stand out in Shandona for one of his first games a few weeks ago. So seems to have a good kind of system going with Rochester Bridge at the moment. But it's all good, positive stuff about him. There's no scandal or anything that's useful to hold against him now.
Well, if you're not recording, I can give you a bit of scandal.
I can edit it all. I can edit it all out. Don't worry. And so does that mean then you would have played with? Would you have played with Finian and Connor Newman as well?
I'm a good bit older than them, so but I was lucky to play with them. We won a couple of championships, one in 01, one in 06, another in 10. So and we're back down junior again, but fingers crossed they'll go back up intermediate this year.
Oh yes. And there's one other, I can't remember who else. Spider Donnelly, Mark Donnelly was another. I was in college with Spider and Maynooth. All right, so I've given him enough abuse over the years. I won't annoy him anymore. So
you've start.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and so the two he ended up there were work then, was it?
Me a little different, a little more circuitous route. Didn't come directly here from Ireland, but had a spell in New York and spells in Toronto. But I'm in Atlanta since '94, so 27 years. I'm a long time on the go, Jason. Getting old.
No, not at all. I'm sure the legs are still working fine. So, and how do you find the GA scene in Atlanta nowadays compared to maybe a few years ago even?
It's a bit more vibrant for sure, as Mark maybe explained to you there. He's probably part of the young American core that have, are probably at least half of the club right now. So, yeah, they're the younger generation are great, a great buzz. They get everything, keep everything going well on the on the media scene, social scene, and they've been a great addition, every one of them.
And Ray, you said you were in Toronto, New York, and stuff. Would you did you play with both of them when you were there?
I did, yeah. Like I was pretty young when I came over first, so I played with the Cavan Club in New York.
Oh yeah.
Played in the final in '86 actually against Donegal. So that's my probably claim to fame. Then in Toronto, I played for a club called St. Michael's. So for 7 years, so we played. They were one of the top teams. They've won a lot of championships. So and then finally, that was one of the reasons. There was another guy from that club, Brendan O'Hagan from Armagh, came down here at the same time as me. And between that and for those pubs starting up and a couple of bartenders from Ireland and a lot of guys coming to the area because of the Olympics and whatnot and green cards a little more prevalent, suddenly there was a bunch of Irish guys in town and we started the club back in '96. So,
Does the Olympics get mentioned much? Does Michelle Smith's name come up a lot?
It wouldn't probably anymore. I mean, it's 20, I suppose, what is it now, 25 years?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of forgotten about it, and most of the young guys involved with the club wouldn't have been here for it or maybe been that much aware. Obviously, I was here for all the, all of the events, but I'm sure Mark wouldn't even remember it. I know he was a kid here probably at that point.
That was my first year in Atlanta. My parents came August '95, and I remember thinking the Olympics would always be in Atlanta from then on.
Yeah, sadly, it doesn't appear every year, unfortunately. Can I ask you, Ray, just since you mentioned it, I'm not going to say too much. I was born in '86. I was wondering what the '86 final was like, because I've had some, well, not many, but Patrick McNeilis, who's in Jersey Shore GA, played in a New York final as well, and ended up marking the guest star for the day, who turned out to be Pat Spillane. I wondered, is anything good from the '86 final that you remember?
Well, we lost the game, which was a bit surprising because we had a pretty strong team, and like the guy Mark and Pat Spillane, we had players over too. We had Ger Power in the team.
Oh yeah.
We had Bernard Flynn from Meath.
My neighbour here,
yeah. We had a couple of Cavan lads, Stephen King and Jim Riley. We had Jerry McCarville from Monaghan. These guys were just over for either a couple of games or, like Ger Power, only one game. The rest of us were there. There were still a lot of good players there, like Jerry Carroll of Offaly, Paul Curran from Monaghan, and a good crop of Cavan lads, Paurie Galligan, Mickey McEntee, trying to think of who else there. PG Maguire was Leitrim. So we had a strong core anyway, and we got players over. But I didn't end up playing on anyone huge. I think he was an underage Down player. Eugene McNulty, I believe, was his name. Okay. And Ewan Donegal. So I wasn't on any big names, but Pádraig Dunn was on their side, and of course Larry Tompkins, captain. I think who else they had that were big at the time. I think
God bless your memory.
Well, you don't forget those players, when you wouldn't have the chance to play against them back home. So it was a pretty big day for me.
Yes, that's pretty impressive. Jeez, God, I couldn't tell you who played last week. Never mind playing back in 1986. Fair play to you.
I always remember. But you always remember roasting, right?
That'll be the tagline for the podcast. So I always remember a good roasting. Yeah. Mark, what's the membership and stuff like with the club nowadays then?
So the membership's going well. COVID kind of stopped everything. Atlanta's like a very transient town, so there's always people coming and going, and life itself, people have different things going on. So we've kind of been on a big rebuild this year. And as Ray said, we've kind of developed really an American core of like 10 to 15 guys now that are constantly coming out every week. We train on the Tuesdays and Fridays. We were just down in Orlando last weekend with 16 guys.
Oh yeah,
we had a great time down there. So yeah, we're just kind of building into, the goal is to have anywhere from 40 to 50 players actively by January next year. And then hopefully have 2 teams competing at different levels, and hopefully having a bid for nationals going into it. But it's a lot of hard work because we're competing with a lot of different social leagues and different sports in itself. There's just so many options for people. So we just have to get our name out there, and word of mouth goes a long way, as well as social media. But yeah, the ball's rolling in the right direction now, and it's an exciting time again to be a part of the club.
Sounds good, yes. And Cormac and Ray, what's your roles in the club, or what positions would we expect to see you play on the field?
There you go. Myself on the committee, I'm assistant treasurer along with Aidan Monahan. And then I help out on the coaching side as well. Still play a little bit.
He's being way too modest, Jason. He's a baller on the field. He's a baller as a coach.
He's from Barbrusna. I'd still be expecting him to play until he's at least 70 or 80.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. tough
man on the team.
Yeah, tough as nails, yeah.
There's great medicine out there. Yeah.
Great horse pills in Westmeath.
I'd say there is. And Ray, how about you then?
I'm chairman of the club and have been for about 10 years now. But so just help the guys out any way I can, in different football was my main game. So obviously I lean towards helping that part of the club out the most, and try to make training as often as I can, but it hasn't been much lately. And, any tournaments or whatever, we always try to be there.
Yeah.
And what about the grounds and training and all that? Are you like a lot of places where it's a local park and you're kind of just trying to get there before everyone else does, or have you got a specific area for yourselves?
It's funny you should ask that, Jason, because that's probably one of our biggest hurdles to get over every year. Because as Mark was saying, we compete with so many different setups, and youth sport will always take priority over adult sports. So when you get somewhere, you need to book it for maybe 6-9 months in advance, pay it up front, make sure that it's secure. We have been lucky enough to secure 2 locations pretty central. But again, another challenge you have in a city like Atlanta is when you say central, 10 miles can take you 10 minutes, or it could take you an hour and a half other times, Yeah. So there are challenges that Bunbrusna don't face, shall I say, that we have to try and get over. But yeah, we've a really good structure in place there. We've, Mark is one of the younger crew. We've Paul Bradley there, who's taken a huge role in the organisation of the adult football at the moment. So yeah, things are going well.
So it's like trying to get through the traffic lights in Mullingar, basically. That kind of.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. When I used to joke, Jason, with my buddies back home. We'd be complaining about maybe having to play Milltown on a Wednesday evening and take us 20 minutes to get there. And Charlotte are 400 miles away. They're our closest competition at the moment over here. So.
Wow. I was going to ask. Yeah, I was going to ask actually, what's the rivalries and stuff like nearby? I suppose 400 miles is most of the length of Ireland, really.
Yeah, it's pretty good, actually, to be honest. As Mark said, we went down to Orlando there last weekend. 17 guys flew down. Rivalry is more intense than you'd think when you cross the white line. Obviously, Charlotte, Raleigh, Orlando, South Florida. And then we have smaller clubs popping up everywhere now as well, like Savannah, Charleston, Nashville. It's fantastic. Obviously, when everything's over, you shake hands, you have a beer, and everybody's talking about trying to develop the southeast. So it's it's good. It's good.
You still bait the heads off each other in the pitch, I presume.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. So true Bunbrusna man then, yeah. And what about the competitive side then? You would be, I presume, the Southeast Division, is that right? Or
yes, that's and there are obviously the way it's broken out. We've Junior A, Junior B, Junior C, and there are different conditions, or what different setups.
Different rules for each division, I guess. They've changed from year to year, Jason, with different amounts of Irish guys allowed play. That's how they're trying to structure it and build the American base. And I don't even know the exact numbers. Mark probably knows better from playing this year, but we're in Junior B at the moment. Charlotte alternate between A and B. They're probably better A side, but so they're our main rival. And then Raleigh and Winston-Salem make up generally C. And then D teams would be like Charlotte seconds, or if we manage to get side and stuff like that. They're nearly all American in the D division. Okay. So that's the levels we're at here. And there's just they're the 4 main football clubs anyway. And then as regards hurling, there's a good branch out into Tennessee and I guess Knoxville, Nashville, Charlotte team for a while. And then every now and then Florida has a bigger push on with either football or hurling. So that's kind of the area we're dealing with. And now Savannah and Augusta here in Georgia are getting going with hurling in particular. So it'll be interesting to see, it's probably a surprising thing is the amount of Americans who gravitate towards hurling first, a lot to our club to play hurling first because they've played baseball maybe or hockey or something and feel the stick game is to their liking, and then they turn out to be very good footballers as well. And so that's kind of where the Southeast is at for us.
The ladies game is quite strong as well. We've a very successful camogie team, and then ladies football is quite strong in Charlotte, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they would have been senior champions around Charlotte. Ladies football, they're the senior champions in North America.
Yeah. Okay. I've kind of got that impression that the hurling, which is I may be expecting in some ways, but I didn't realize the kind of level that it's been taken up at. Most clubs in America that have come on have said, yeah, the hurling one is becoming huge, and the ladies one is, I suppose, in the past couple of months I've kind of heard that off a few clubs about the ladies one, the standard kind of rising, and especially in competitive level, I suppose, as well. The other one that Mark, you lads mentioned about pitching some money and paying up front and stuff. So what's the fundraising side like for you guys?
So we'll work with local pubs. We'll kind of rotate around a little bit. We'll say like we're having a social event at this pub, and we'll do a raffle. And like the biggest one we had last time was our camogie team went off to nationals up in, was it Boston this year? So it was around the hurling final. So we just put up a big social event. We put it out into the world. We had a bunch of people come down. We raffled off jerseys, different gift baskets, gift cards to places. We raised over $500 for the club. Kind of to send them on their way. And then we always do something once a month, just in the similar fashion of we're going to this pub and we'll have some sort of raffle, big prize and then little prizes, and that'll go into the pot for the club. And then we also have a big annual golf tournament, and that's probably the biggest driver, and also a lot of fun on the day. We get a lot of people that we haven't seen in a while, and we all reach out to different friends. It's a good day out. Again, that's kind of something we're trying to get momentum again because of the whole COVID situation. So, kind of gearing up to what we want to have a base of for January going into the new year.
Okay, and staying slightly off the pitch for another minute before I get on the pitch, what's a good celebration night like with Atlanta?
We have a few bartenders in the group. We have a few of us are young professionals that need to blow off some steam. That you can't always find on the pitch. You got to take to that next level off the pitch. So we have a lot of fun. We'd be very tight knit group. Specifically, the core group of us, probably a good 20 guys. The WhatsApp group's always hopping. So yeah, we'd rotate around to different things. We go to different, we were talking about Atlanta United games, the Falcons. We get nights like that together as a group. We have a social golf league. So it's a lot of fun, and we look out for each other, and there's always someone talking to someone,
And Cormac and Ray, you bring the Brosnan and Cavan influence to the sessions after.
We slow things down a bit.
on the nights out, Ray and I can talk about before 10 p.m. Mark can talk about after 10 p.m.
True.
That's fair enough. Yeah, you haven't gone out the full American route that some clubs have said lately of we're better at celebrating before we actually play the match than we are after.
Well, that can happen from time to time, depending, especially if they're delayed or games cancelled. But you hope if you have a heavy schedule, you can tailor it properly.
Yeah, okay. because of the distance between clubs, most clubs will run a one-day tournament each year. So that's kind of where you get your competitive games from. And to be fair, the standard of organisation on those tournaments has increased over the last 10 or 12 years that I've been involved. It's fantastic. They have most clubs now have their own tournament committees, and they organise everything down to the last detail. So running off the games, after game celebrations, hotels, travel, all sorts of stuff. It's a very professional event.
The live bands and everything flown in, and it's the crack is mighty. Absolutely. Like we were in Orlando last weekend, and they had like a halfway to Paddy's Day celebration. They did
I've heard all about those.
Yeah, and it was a great night. It was a phenomenal night. So yeah, it's really exciting, and having 4 or 5 of those a year, it's something to circle on the calendar. It gets people out to train a little bit more because there's something to work towards,
Yeah, well, you're down in Orlando. You have Jimmy Flaherty from Carrow down in Orlando there. I'd expect nothing less than a good night from a Carrow goalie man. So I presume you got good treatment. What about then on the pitch or even on the sidelines? Who then, or I suppose, what would be your kind of standout games that you've had in the past couple of years that spring to mind?
I think for me, you'd have to circle the 2018 season. We had a good core of 30 guys, and we won 5 out of 6 trophies,
Wow.
including in nationals. We won 2 trophies in one day. We went to Winston-Salem and we won the Southeastern Trophy, and then went on to win the tournament itself in the same day.
Wow.
That stands out. So I've played 5 years. That was my 3rd year, and that was peak. That was peak.
Okay.
But the other 2 might have other outstanding days.
Well, it still stand out for me, Mark. I've been involved with the club since day one. So it was our first nationals to win as a football team. We had won a hurling one in 02, I believe. They won the Camogie in 13. So, and the ladies footballers had lost, I think, 3 finals. So we had lost our share of finals. So winning in 18 was still the pinnacle for me as well.
Okay. And anything, Cormac, that you can think of?
No, that obviously that year was excellent, but we've had a few great one-off wins against our rivals, Charlotte as well. We had a great game. Was it in 2013 against Cork, Boston Cork?
Yeah.
All right.
Went down to the wire. One we left behind, as Ray was pointing out, unfortunately. But we've had a few good days, all right. Yeah.
That sounds good, Jet. What is the rivalry with Charlotte? Is it quite a proper GA rivalry, considering they're your nearest, even though Tuss did be the other side of the world nearly, but
I know, absolutely, Jason. There would be. We set up in 96, and I think they set up around 99 or 2000. And for the first 3, 4, 5 years, 3, 4 years, we beat them easily. But man, after about 6, 7 years, they really got on a level with us. And by 2006, they beat us in the national final above in Philadelphia. So we definitely have rivalry. I mean, we never want to lose a game against them, whether it's an exhibition game, a Southeastern Championship game, or indeed a North American game. There's always severe rivalry. And there's a few guys like myself who've been around since day one. So, I mean, the rivalry is definitely there.
Okay. And what about them for the club? It's kind of come up a lot, especially, well, not just the American clubs, but the grassroots level, the kids getting things going. Have you guys anything in place, or is there any hope for getting anything in place?
Yeah, no, we've there's one person that had been driving it for last 3, 4, 5 years. Jerry, and again, to go back to Mark's point, you're competing against a lot of different sports, but the youth is active, and we're trying our best.
COVID kind of knocked the stuffing out of it. I Jerry in 17 to the first nationals. We managed to put an under-8 team together and bring it to their nationals. It's called the CYTP, I think.
CYC, yeah.
CYC, sorry, is the name of it's Continental Youth Championship. And I mean, it was amazing. We were in Buffalo and they had 15 pitches and games going for 4 days. I think there was something like 700 and something games played from under 8 or 18. So to appear in that and play, I think we played upwards of 5 games. It was great exposure for the kids. And that was the pinnacle. But unfortunately, after 18, we couldn't go to it the next year because they moved the weekend, and it landed the same weekend as school went back in. And we had a bunch of kids and parents couldn't go. So we didn't get to 18. And then by 19, then the same thing happened. And then last year, of course, COVID. So a couple of little things have kind of killed us here in Atlanta with it. So we just need to get back behind Jerry and help him maybe get it back on track again.
And we have run a couple of cool camps as well over the summers that have been well attended. I think the first one we ran, we had about 60, 70 kids at. So we secured fantastic facilities down at Emory University for that first year. So went quite well.
That sounds brilliant, yeah. And what's the future like then, Mark, for Atlanta going forward?
So the future right now is really we've kind of reevaluated things with the whole COVID. I think most clubs around the world are doing the same, especially the international ones. The goal right now is to set a foundation, a sort of a base of a social group. So we want to run social leagues spring and fall. And then summertime, we'll focus a little bit more on championship, but we'll run maybe developmental sessions once or twice a week. So right now, we want to get 50 to 100 members socially in the club. We'd like to run both hurling, co-ed, mixed hurling and football groups, and have that going one night a week, and then just build out from there. I think a lot of us that have been in the club, it's hard with the stop, start. You kind of, after Nationals in September, we don't talk football or see football for a little while. up until, February when we get going again. I think we've kind of come together that we need to keep this ball rolling. It doesn't need to be as intense all year long, of course, but we need to keep the ball rolling and be active with our members and keep football and GAA top of mind as much as we can and give them a reason to come out. So that's the main focus right now, is building that base, building that foundation, which I think we're well on our way to do. And as I said, 30 to 40 members right now. We're a little bit ahead. We want to have 50 active members competing on the football side by January. So,
yeah. Sounds super. Yeah, it's it's probably the biggest thing I've got out of all the 50, 60 chats I've had with clubs around the world is that, and so many people message me going, I didn't even know this place had a GA club, never mind a club that has this many members or is this successful or is this much off the ground. So you guys are definitely in the category of a club that's well established and certainly well capable going forward of competing at the top level in America as well. Would you like possibly maybe Cormac or Ray, since you've been playing a long time, would you like the possibility of American clubs, like in Europe, the winner of Europe gets into the junior championship in Ireland? Do you think there's room for that kind of thing for clubs in America to possibly compete at that level in Ireland in the championship?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a set aside cost. I believe the skill level is definitely there. The intensity, skill wise, it's all there. I think the more exposure teams get here, the better it is. And I really see the growth of the GAA in the Southeast is booming over the last 3 or 4 years, obviously COVID aside. But I think it's be a great opening. I think our Camogie team, there was a Camogie team went from America here representing the US.
There was I'm not sure what you call it. Was it the native games or something, or the world games, right? Non-native.
The 2019 World Games, I
think that we had 2 players.
That's right.
2 or 3 maybe from our Camogie team was on the North American team. They actually won the I guess American-born or foreign-born section of the champion, and they got to play in Croke Park. So, which was quite an achievement.
But it'd be a great prize for somebody to win a championship over here and then get entered into a junior championship in Ireland. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it's something I'd love to see it as well. I think it would just it'd expand the game so much as well. So, there's one last question then, Troy, on the spot a little bit, and then there's a few quick fire questions and then a few specific Atlanta themed questions. Now, there's no pressure on any of them. Don't worry, you're not being graded or anything on it. So. But the last kind of question for the three of you, and you can have a think if you want, is there any particular fun story, standout memory that comes to mind from your time? I was going to say with Atlanta, but I suppose I'll throw it out to any GA time in America or Canada for any of you.
That's a tough one. I think nearly every tournament, every weekend had an event you could highlight.
I've got that.
Major one. That's let me think now.
Wow,
that is a tough one.
The biggest one for me is Nationals weekend in Philadelphia. Obviously,
okay.
We had to fight back for our semifinal. I think we were down at halftime, and we came back in the second half and blew the doors off them, and then just kind of rolled momentum into the final. And we had the final at 8 a.m. on the Saturday morning or Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Sunday morning. So we had the final one by 9:30. We got back to the hotel, and there was about 20 of us in a bed with the cup full of beer watching the All-Ireland final. We had a few Tyrone boys on the team, so we were watching that. And then someone went out and got champagne. And by 12:30, we were well on our way and making our way back to the tent and Nationals. And it was probably the best day ever in my life as a Atlanta GAA member.
Oh, brilliant. Well, the 2 lads are thinking, actually, I meant to ask Mark as well, what kind of nationalities or even Irish counties have you got represented in the club at the moment, aside from Westmeath and Cavan, obviously?
Yeah, we have guys from Armagh, Tyrone. We have a few Dubliners. We have one lad over from Wexford.
You don't need him.
Yeah, well, he won us the hurling in Orlando this past weekend, so I'll give him first a shout out.
Oh, he's a hurler. That's okay. I was going to say football. You don't need him.
Yeah, he's studying at Georgia Tech this year, so he's been a great asset to the club. But yeah, there's some Galway guys. We have a Connemara man as well in our club. I think there's 1 or 2 Donegal boys. So we covered a lot of the map, and I'm sure throughout the years the 2 boys, I'm sure we have covered the map.
Mm. That's good, yeah. And Cormac O'Rea, have either of you got a story that stands out for you?
And maybe not as exciting as Mark's, but I suppose one that'll stay in my memory was back, I'm trying to think of the year now, but probably around 03 or 04, trying to keep things rolling when we were maybe struggling with people behind the scenes. But we went to the seven-a-side tournament in Fort Lauderdale. It was a big one at the time in March of each year. They were a strong club at the time. They're not just as big right now, but they brought over teams from Ireland and everything. It was a pretty big event. But in order to get everybody there, we had 10 players, so I rented a minibus. And I drove all the way from Atlanta to Fort Lauderdale. Now that's a 12-hour drive, leaving on, I think it was Friday around noon, getting in there about midnight, managing to grab a few beers and get up in the morning and play 3 games in like mid-80s heat. And didn't do bad. We actually beat one of the teams out in New York. I think it was Armagh or somebody. We actually won one of our games, which was great. Didn't make it to the playoffs, but that probably sticks in my mind as a tough trip. You played on Saturday, partied on Saturday night, and got up Sunday morning. Got in that van again and drove straight back and got back about midnight Sunday night. That was a bit of effort, but we got it done. We were young enough at the time, I guess.
That's a cracking story because you get lads here. Lads complain about having to go 25 minutes out the road to train and like so.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, and what was funny about it was on the trip back, everyone was pushing to get back because most of us were working on Monday, but the guys were putting the hand up and shouting to stop off. I need to stop the bus. I want a wee wee. It was you can bottle, so.
It sounds like me bringing my class on a school tour. That's brilliant. And is there any other ones then that spring to mind? And then I'll throw a few quick fire questions at you. If there's nothing, no, you don't have to. Geez, I'm not forcing you or anything.
No, just one thing that brought it home to me years ago was we went down to Orlando for a hurling game, and we all met at Dublin Airport. Jesus, at Atlanta. 5 a.m. in the morning to rent two 7-seaters. We drove down, and of course down about a couple of 100 miles into the journey, there was an accident on I-75. We got stranded on the road for a couple of hours, and the lads were actually hurling out in the middle of the I-75.
Wow!
Yeah. We got down a couple of hours late. We played the game and had a great night.
That's class. Is there any photos of that? No.
There is actually somewhere. I seen one a few months back. All right.
If there was any photos of that, I'd love to see one of them. Yeah.
You want to see the. It was more interesting to look at the people just thinking, what the heck is going on here? Because we were stuck in the middle of the road for a couple of hours.
You could have got a game going, I'd say, if you put cars for goalposts instead of jumpers for goalposts.
Street league.
Interstate league or highway league, whatever way you want to call it. That's class, yeah. I'll throw a few of the quickfire questions because I know you probably want to go back to watch a bit of the Ryder Cup as well. So,
no, we don't.
You don't? All right, okay. It's that bad, is it?
Is it? Well, it was bad when I was watching it earlier, anyways.
Yeah, well, it probably won't get any better, I'd say. Every GA club in the world, as you would know from Atlanta or from Brusner, all the clubs up in Cavan as well, has a standard stereotypical lunatic tough nut on or off the pitch. Who is Atlantis?
I guess that one's for Mark. We had a few down the years, but
I know I can say it.
The answer for crop.
There's a few current lads, but I think you guys know who I'm going to go with. He's probably my best friend on the team as well, Conal Gallagher from Armagh. Just an absolute head case on the field. The sweet right boot on him, but Jesus Christ, don't get in his way. And off the field, he's just as mad.
Brilliant.
He's a top man, but he would probably be my guy on the field, and I'm definitely glad he's on my side.
Love it. I love him already. Sounds like a legend. Cormac O'Rea, are you part of the Marty Party or a Des Cahill fan club?
I'd probably go with Des.
Yeah, probably no. I know him better. I actually met Des he was out during the Olympics, and I brought him down to go to watch some games. He was staying with friends of mine in the area, so I got to meet Des, so I'll probably be partial on that one.
Okay, fair enough. Mark, have you a favourite out of Marty or Des?
I'm going to go Marty because I actually gave him a fist bump. We were up in New York when Mayo came over last.
Oh, yeah.
So it was right after Mayo won the National League, and I think there was like 8,000 of us in this Gaelic grounds, which only seats thousand, and I, for whatever reason, right place, right time, I gave him a fist bump as he was walking by into the Gaelic ground. So I'm going to go Marty.
Okay, nice. Toughest team, Mark, that you've ever come up against in your GA days?
The team we face at Nationals, Delco, they were very, very tough, very athletic group of boys. We saw that out well, though. I think we managed them. And then, the bitter rival Charlotte this year was definitely our hardest games against them. They're insanely fit. They played the game really well. And you have to be switched on every second of that game or you're going to get caught out. So
okay.
Give it to Charlotte.
Okay, and before I ask Cormac and Ray that one, Delco, I know I've seen them online. Where would Delco be in life, in geography?
Yeah,
well,
it's
they stand,
Pennsylvania.
yeah,
Pennsylvania,
they stand,
okay.
Delaware,
Just outside Philly.
yeah, Delaware County.
Okay, I didn't realize that. No, I'd heard the name already a few times. And Ray or Cormac, then the toughest team you've ever come up against, I suppose, in your GA days in America first. We won't go Brumbrusna or any of that.
I suppose hard to say. I didn't. I suppose when I came over first playing in New York, every game was a tough one. The physicality was a big step up in the 80s, and playing against a lot of county players as well. They were just stronger. So every game I played in New York, and I was on the receiving end of a few hits, and I got sent off a couple of times myself. So it was hot and heavy every Sunday in Gaelic Park for sure. So I couldn't single out any particular team, but they were all. I mean, it was a big step. And back home in 1986. So that sticks in my mind. And then I guess from the North American, that was probably toward the end of my time and mostly in goal. So I don't really have any big games to talk about from I played with.
They were terrible referees in the 80s, weren't they, sending you off?
Well, they were around. I mean, he definitely deserved to send me off on the day, but we're bad all around. I mean, what was let go, there was some serious hits. I mean, the time I did get hurt, I was hit off the ball. So going on back then, big time. So
yeah, so Patrick McNeilis in Jersey Shore, he said Pat Spillane came up, shook his hand, punched him in the back, and then ran off. So
that's the story of that. All right, and even here's a little story for you. Seeing that you know Bernard Flynn, you can run it by him, meet him back home. Bernard got sent off in that final. Now Bernard Flynn getting sent off, you talk about the travesty. I mean, the guy never lifted his hand. It was the defender that was kicking him and hitting him from behind for the entire opening 15 minutes. Bernard got sent off after about 10 or 15 minutes with the other guy. And I mean, it was a travesty because the other guy just went out there to do him in. And so that didn't help us that day.
Okay, so I'll have to ask him that one. I'll be walking past his house, I'm sure. Some of the next few days I'll probably see him somewhere.
Yeah.
And Cormac, is there a toughest one you've ever come up against?
Yeah, for me, I suppose the Cork team out of Boston, that time back in whenever it was 12 or 13. And then, of course, anytime we play Charlotte, they always give us a fantastic game. Great club, great opponents, great rivals. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. If you could bring Atlanta to Ireland to take on a county, who would you most like a shot against?
For me, being a Westmeath man, I'd have to say either Long or Meath.
Love it. Yeah. Any others you want a shot against?
I'm gonna say Galway. Just the rivalry between Mayo and Galway. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Okay.
And I suppose I'd have to pick Tyrone, being after what they've done being from the north end.
Yep, sounds good. So we're bringing them on a multitude of games around Ireland. They'll see every corner of Ireland and stuff they probably never thought they would see in their lives. Bringing them to some parts. You can choose, Mark, the famous 4 in GA. You can choose between hats, flags, scarves, or headbands. Which one are you picking?
Hats, flags, scarves. I think I bought a headband at the final the last day, and I tied it around my wrist. So I'm gonna go with the headband.
Okay, and they lost, so that clearly didn't work out very well.
No. It's worked for me before on the other side. Kilkenny's won a few with the head.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Cormac or Ray, what about you then?
I go flags. I love when I'm at home driving around the countryside around county final time when you see all the flags out.
Okay,
yeah,
sounds good. And Ray?
Same here. I'd be a flag, probably flag bearer more than anything else. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yep. Is there a favorite Father Ted episode in Atlanta GA?
Well, we probably have a guy in the club that we nickname Father Ted, but having been gone so many years, I didn't see all the episodes, only a few highlights here and there. But so I'll leave that to the younger guys, maybe to
I think that's one of the shows we have to start introducing to some of the new American boys. Like there'd be some of us that would definitely quote Father Ted in sessions. I wouldn't say there's a specific episode. We're just always bantering away, but that's a good idea, Jason. That might be something I need to throw into the group.
Yeah.
And say, get culturally appropriated.
We've got a Father Jack over here, all right. Yeah. So he will remain nameless, but he knows who he is.
He who shall remain nameless. I love it, chat. Love it, chat. No, Father Ted is it's like if I was put on Mastermind, I'd be the first thing I go to. Kind of renowned among friends for being able to recite all 23 episodes off by heart. So it's it's one I always ask. So and I may be putting you slightly on the spot here, but you can have a think as well. The greatest GAA player ever in your lifetimes, who would you pick?
Wow.
I have a little poll of players kind of going, and I've got some interesting ones. Yeah.
Just going to say, probably being as old as we are, we've seen a lot of them, so, but I suppose growing up, my most influential years, the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, you'd have to pick Jack O'Shea.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And
that's
being
the first, actually, funnily enough, as well.
Yeah.
Well, if I can't pick Jacko, I'd probably pick the Gooch.
Okay. Yep. He's come up a bit. Mark, is there a favourite you've had?
Yeah, overall player, I would probably say the Gooch. Biasly Mayo-wise, I think Lee Keegan deserves a shout. I think he's probably our best player ever. I don't know the country itself, but yeah, I'm gonna get behind the Gooch.
Okay, yeah. Lee Keegan's name has been in the papers. Not papers, online today. Paddy Prendergast, the last survivor of that Mayo team, passed away, and
there's no excuses now, Jason.
The ballet fullback, as they called him, they say that Lee Keegan is kind of a modern day version of him. So yeah, Lee Keegan's name has been on Twitter a lot today. I've seen it going around. And then a couple of random Atlanta themed ones, because every team gets their themed versions. Mark, maybe I'll ask you the first one. You have a choice between where am I? Atlanta-born Evander Holyfield or the Irish legend that is Kelly Harrington, Olympic champion.
I'm going to go with Mr. Holyfield for sure.
Okay.
I actually have had the pleasure of shaking his hand as well. I think one of his sons, I was a lifeguard, and one of his sons was a swimmer. And he would pop into the aquatic center and watch some of the training sessions. So he was a gentleman and a true tramp. So I'm going to go with Evander.
Okay. And then Cormac and Ray, I'll throw this one to you guys. Actually, Cormac, this one is just for you. Who is the better footballer, Finian Newman or Conor Newman?
You're breaking up on me now. I can't hear you anymore.
I've heard that one a few times, all right, Jeff.
No, I'm gonna use an American term here, and I'm gonna plead
Veto.
the fifth.
Yeah, plead the fifth, exactly. Yeah. Where'll I go? Oh, there's only one other one. No offense, Cormac and Ray, but I'll ask you maybe I'm doing you a disservice here, but I was going to ask Mark this one, but you can choose between the great Irish singer Samantha Mumba. You familiar, Cormac and Ray, with her work?
Yeah.
Lovely. Or Atlanta-born Kelly Rowland.
I'd have to say Mumba, because I guess being too old, I don't know the Atlanta girl.
She would be one of the Destiny's Child with Beyonce back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go Mumba.
Okay, good. Yeah, good choice. And then, Mark, I'm going to ask you this one. You can choose between Atlanta's favourites, Keenan and Kell, or Ireland's great duo of Dahi and Mora.
I'm going to go bias Keenan and Kell, just because I grew up watching those guys more over here. So
do you know who Dahi and Mora are, I should ask?
I feel like I would know their faces, but I wouldn't know like the work as such.
Yeah, probably better off not knowing them in some ways. So
I'll go Keenan and Kell.
Yeah.
Can't believe you use Rog and Podge.
Oh yeah, should have gone Podge and Rog, shouldn't I? They would have been better actually.
Yeah, I would have gone Rog and Podge probably, because I do remember watching them over there.
Okay, I should have gone with that one, yes. And then Cormac, last one to you. Can Roger Bridge expect to win the intermediate title with Peter Tormey at the helm?
100%, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pass that one along. So
best of luck to them.
Yeah. Oh, good. Is there anyone then, any of you want to give a shout out to anywhere in Ireland or around the world before I let you go?
I suppose just what you mentioned, Rochford Bridge, we have a player on our a former player from Rochford Bridge. He's actually in Ireland right now, maybe coming back today. Millie Kennelly played with us for many years. So anyway, himself and Phelim Farrell. Phelim grew up in Edenderry, but was, I think, born in Rochford Bridge. They're both over there at the moment. I think they may be coming back today. So 2 former players. So anyway, just didn't want to get off track. But when you mentioned Rochford Bridge, it just...
No, it's good.
So-
The Bridgeheads probably listen. They probably recognise the name. Somebody will anyway. So
we were just a quick story, Jason. When Ray mentioned about Phelim, we were only over here, my family and I, about 2 weeks, and we were at Mass one Sunday morning, and our youngest lad had a Westmeath jersey on him, and all I could hear sitting up at the back of the church, I don't believe it. That's a Westmeath jersey I see down there, and it was actually Phelim Farrell. It's the first time I ever met the guy. You know?
the GA jersey does wonders no matter where in the world you are, doesn't it?
So true.
It trumps the story of Mass, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. Is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to anywhere?
So look at just the home club back home, and I suppose everyone in Cavan. That's it. Hopefully, Lavi were playing the senior championship today. I believe they won, so they're tinkering along well. A bit like Munbrusna, they've been up and down from probably junior to senior and back down in my time, but at least they've hung on senior for about 10 years now. So hopefully they can stay there.
Sounds good. And we expect Munbrusna to do wonders this year as well, Cormac. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. They're going pretty well in the group phase so far. I think they've had 3 wins and 1 draw. I think they're playing Finney next weekend. So, yeah, hopefully get out of the group and get a good draw against the senior clubs. You know,
Yep. This won't probably be going airing for a couple of months, but I'd say by then they might have might be the advanced stages of the championship, or they might have won it. Who knows? So it could be you could be celebrating by then. And Marcus, for anyone for you then.
Yeah, just big shout out to all the family in Castlebar. I was with them a few weeks ago. So yeah, it was great to see everyone, and we'll keep the flag flying over here in Atlanta.
Yeah, super. Look, Les, thanks so much to 3 of you for giving up your time, especially on a Ryder Cup final day as well. It's been deadly chatting to the 3 of you, and so good to hear Westmeath voice as well in the background. It's always nice. But I really appreciate you giving up your time. I will keep in touch and let you know when this is going out. But yeah, I'll keep in touch for sure. And thanks so much for coming on. And the best of luck with Atlanta in the coming months. And someday, hopefully soon, I'll get out there and I'll get to see you in the flesh, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. More than welcome. And thanks for doing what you do there and spreading the gospel.
Spreading the gospel, exactly. Yes. Thanks so much, lads.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Take care. Slán, good luck.
Bye-bye.
Coming up the next day on the Loaf of Bread GAA Global, we cut into our next slice.
There's another famous one about the Great Eight. The Great Eight has to get a mention, I suppose. So we went to the national finals with the A team and the B team, and the B team we only had 8 players.
Okay.
So we were in our tournament, and it's 11 aside, and we only had 8 players. So we kind of were asking teams, could you give us a lend of a player or this type of thing, and everybody was really hesitant and giving us going like that. Real Madrid, you not have players. We're going like there's literally only 8 of us. But we got to the final.
With 8 players?
With 8 players, we got to the final. And that's why we call ourselves the Great Eight. So we left everything. We were dead by the end of it. But we got hammered in the final by a Galician team.
On Slice 43, I chat to Martin from Laois and Megan from Limerick to find out all about Madrid Harps GAA. And it's some crack. Here's we chat all about hostels in Valencia, Alvaro with his Cork accent, being European champions, having a star on the jersey, Rayo Vallecano jerseys and Che Guevara hats and goals, the Great Eight team, Galician referees, the El Gásico rivalry with Barcelona, and who the hell gave Jordan a red card on her debut, #Justice for Jordan, and how about a former Barcelona player captaining a winning Madrid side. All this and much more next Monday morning from 9 AM as I continue the journey with 2 slices a week. I'll see you at the arrivals hall, but until then, check out the various clubs on the Instagram page and see all the amazing work they do and some of the nicest GAA gear going. Find the podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter and on TikTok. Email loafofbreadpod@gmail.com or just simply hit the follow button and spread the word of the Loaf of Bread GAA pod across the globe.
Slánagi.